Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 11. We can chant Sanskrit and English together. Bigger if you can make it. Yeah, if possible. Balam balavadam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam dharma virudho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. I am the strength of the strong.
Devoid of passion and desire, I am sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles, O Lord of the Bharatas, Arjuna.
Ye chaiva sattvika bhava rajasas tamasas chaye mata eveti tandri atvam teshu te mai. All states of being,
be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am, in one sense, everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of this material nature.
Tribir gunamaya bhavaya evi sarvam idam tata moitam nabijanati amebhyak paramavyayam. Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. Daiviyesha gunamayi mamamayam tuvatyaya am eva ye bhajante ayamitam tarantite. This divine energy of mine,
consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it.
Tamam niskutino mudha bhajante naradama maya parityajnana asuram bhavamashita. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish,
lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me.
Taturvidabhajante mam jana sakritanarjuna arto jigasu artati jnani cha bharatarshava. O best among the Bharatas, Arjuna,
pious men render devotional service unto me, the distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute.
which text was this now? Tesham Gyani Nityayukta Ega Bhakti Vishishate Priyohi Gyani No Chartam Aham Chamama Priyaha. Of these, the wise one,
who is in full knowledge and union with me through pure devotional service, is the best, for I am dear to him, and he is dear to me.
18. Udara Saro Evaite Yani Tvatmaiva Mematam Astita Sakti Bhuttatma Mamevanutamam Gatim. All these devotees
are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me and I consider verily to dwell in me, being engaged in my trance service, he attained me.
Pahunam Janmanamante Jnanavamam Bhajate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samadma Sadurlabhaha. After many births and deaths,
he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare.
20. Kamaistastairutagana Bhajante Nidevataha Tam Tam Niyamamastaya Prakrityanyatasvaya. Those whose minds are distorted by
and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures.
And finally, text 21. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta shadayar chitam ichate tasya tasya chalam shalam tam eva vidyamyaham. I am in everyone's heart as the super soul. Here we go back to text 11 now. So we can read the translation and purport.
I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles, O Lord of the Bharatas, Arjuna. The strong man's strength should be applied to protect the weak, not for personal aggression. Similarly, sex life, according to religious principles, dharma, should be for the propagation of children, not otherwise. The responsibility of parents is then to make their offspring Krishna conscious.
Let's go back to that one again.
All states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of this material nature.
Right there. Yeah, purport.
Purport, all material activities in the world are being conducted under the three modes of material nature. Although these material modes of nature are emanations from the Supreme Lord Krishna, he is not subject to them. For instance, under the state laws one may be punished, but the king, the lawmaker, is not subject to that law. Similarly, all the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance are emanations from the Supreme Lord Krishna. But Krishna is not subject to material nature. Therefore, he is nirguna, which means that these gunas or modes, although issuing from him, do not affect him. That is one of the special characteristics of Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
One has to understand that the Supreme Being, the source of everything, cannot be under the influence of his own potency, his own energy. The material energy is working under his direction. It's not that he is under the influence of Maya. In other words, he can do no wrong. He doesn't become implicated in any activity. It's quite common to hear people say, well, there's so many evil things in the world, so how can there be a God? If there were a God, he wouldn't allow evil things to happen. But the thing is that they don't understand that the so-called evil things do not affect him, Krishna, God. He's transcendental. He's not implicated by any activity. Therefore, he can dance with so many beautiful damsels and not be implicated in lusty affairs. There's no bad reaction. And there's no good reaction in the sense Krishna is not under the influence of good or bad. He's transcendental to everything. All the modes of material nature. So goodness, passion, ignorance are under his influence. Not that we appreciate God when he does what we think is good. But we don't understand how the Lord can do everything good at the same time. Even though it appears that there's a hurricane in the southern states and people are getting injured and killed, and God is getting implicated in more bad activities. I don't know, poor God, he can't simply control things. No, he's controlling. But one has to understand God as he explains himself. He says, I'm not under the modes of material nature. I'm transcendental, always. Nothing affects him. There's no karmic reaction for him. Even if he does work, it appears as though he's acting like an ordinary person. But he's not. Even if he kills, you may say, well, Krishna seemed to cause or be a cause or some influence on the battle of Kurukshetra, which took the lives of so many people. Therefore, he must be punished, he must be judged for that. But the question is, who will judge him? Who can judge Krishna? He's above everyone. Asumordva, no one is equal to him or greater than him. How will anyone be able to judge him? Say that this is wrong and say this is right. Just like his sister Subhadra, she was married to Arjuna. And Arjuna and Subhadra had a son, Abhimanyu. And he was just a young man of 16 years when the Battle of Kurukshetra took place. So he was a great fighter, even though he was quite young. So he went out, fought valiantly, but he was killed. And Subhadra knew that Krishna, her brother, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was there on the battlefield, and still he allowed this to happen. she didn't condemn him or criticize him. She knew that this is his pastime. Everything he does is good. It may not seem good to the eyes of people, but they can see properly. One who sees properly, he sees that everything is under his influence. Nothing is outside of his influence. And everything he does is perfect. Even in the material world. Someone say, well, maybe he does all perfect things in the spiritual world. I hear in the material world, there's so many bad things happening. He must become implicated. No. Even in the material world, the material nature works under him. Spiritual nature, Daiviyesha, also works under him. But even the material nature works under him. Everything works under him. So that's an important point here. Let's go on. Unless there's some question.
Hare Krishna. You said nothing affects Krishna. In fact, we read that he's the cause of all causes. And God's principal position is omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent. So one could say the only thing that he lacks is limitations. But we also see that he certainly has limitations, and he's being affected when he's tied up to the mortar after stealing the butter before he pulls down the trees. So this idea that the only thing that God lacks is limitations because he's so powerful to even impose these upon himself, or something like that.
Kind of trick on words.
What's that?
They're just trying to play a trick on words. Can he make a stone so big he can't lift it? It's like they're making little games. But God can't be caught by some game of trick on words. He's totally independent, he says here. I am independent. I'm not under the modes of intonation. No limitations. He can do anything. And still it's perfect. And still, after that, after being perfect, he can improve on it. He can do something more. So that's the unlimited Lord, and the devotees, they accept that. When Mother Yashoda looked into Krishna's mouth because she heard that he was eating dirt. So she looked inside his mouth. She saw the whole universe, cosmic manifestation in his mouth. How can you? Wasn't that big a mouth, but she saw. So she could know this. There's something beyond my capacity I cannot understand. Arjuna also said that. Your universal form is beyond my ability to understand fully. By your grace, by your kindness, I can understand a little bit. By Krishna's grace, one can get a little bit of inkling of how great he is, of how powerful he is. If someone says, God is great, but then, that's good, that's nice, he knows God is great. But how great? He's the greatest. He owns everything. He has all beauty. He has all fame. He has all knowledge. He has all renunciation. So all qualities. He owns everything is his. But then again, he's outside of everything. He's not limited by anything. Well, this is inconceivable to the mundane mind. Therefore, no one can understand Krishna by his senses or his mind. Through his eyes, we can't see Krishna perfectly with our eyes. In order to see Krishna, we have to see with the eyes tinged of the salve of love, Premanjana Churichabhakvilochane. In order to understand his opulence, we have to understand that he's the owner of everything. Everything exists under his direction. So in this way, we can't conceive of ever becoming bored with hearing about Krishna's glories because they're always increasing, unlimitedly great. Yes.
Namaskar, Guru. So, you said Krishna is everywhere. So, if he is a formless, he should not be defined by any of the energy form, right? Like.
If what?
He is a formless.
Formless?
Yes.
He's not formless, he has form. Vigraha, Satchidananda Vigraha. But his form is made of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Not like the material forms that are made of matter and they change all the time.
So,
and he has chapter 9, text 4. Yeah. 9:4 begins.
By meaning my unmanifested form, this entire universe is created. All beings are in me. I am not in them.
Yeah. So he is all pervading through his unmanifest.
I was wondering why the women in World War II became atheists when their sons and husbands and fathers were killed, but Subhadra wasn't upset.
Yeah, she's a great devotee. She knows Krishna. Doesn't do anything material. He doesn't make any mistakes. There's no wrong on his part. There's a purpose behind it. Okay, next verse. The translation and purport, please.
Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. Purport. The whole world is enchanted by three modes of material nature. Those who are bewildered by these three modes cannot understand that transcendental to this material nature is the Supreme Lord, Krishna. In this material world, everyone is under the influence of these three gunas and is thus bewildered. By nature, living entities have particular types of body and particular types of psychic and biological activities accordingly. There are four classes of men functioning in the three material modes of nature. Those who are purely in the mode of goodness are called brahmanas. Those who are purely in the mode of passion are called kshatriyas. Those who are in the modes of both passion and ignorance are called vaishyas. Those who are completely in ignorance are called Shudras. And those who are less than that are animals or animal life. However, these designations are not permanent. I may either be a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or whatever. In any case, this life is temporary. But although life is temporary and we do not know what we are going to be in the next life, still by the spell of this illusory energy, we consider ourselves in the light of this bodily conception of life, and thus we think that we are American, Indian, Russian, or Brahmana, Hindu, Muslim, etc. And if we become entangled with the modes of material nature, then we forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond all these modes. So Lord Krishna says that men, deluded by these three modes of nature, do not understand that behind the material background is the Supreme Godhead. There are many different kinds of living entities, human beings, demigods, animals, etc., and each and every one of them is under the influence of material nature, and all of them have forgotten the transcendent personality of Godhead. Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance, and even those who are in the mode of goodness, cannot go beyond the impersonal Brahman conception of the absolute truth. They are bewildered before the Supreme Lord in His personal feature, which possesses all beauty, opulence, knowledge, strength, fame, and renunciation. When even those who are in goodness cannot understand, what hope is there for those in passion and ignorance? Krishna consciousness is transcendental to all these three modes of material nature, and those who are truly established in Krishna consciousness are actually liberated.
This is one of the great gifts that the devotees receive. Like Krishna is transcendental to the modes of material nature, the pure devotees also become transcendental. They're not influenced by the ignorance and passion or goodness even. They're transcendental. Even though they're living in the material world, they're not affected by it. That doesn't mean they're God. It means that they've become godly. By the grace of Krishna, He has given them that. One of His opulences, that they can be liberated like Him, mukta. Okay, let's read the next text and purport.
Translation. This divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has innumerable energies, and all these energies are divine. Although the living entities are part of His energies and are therefore divine, due to contact with material energy, their original superior power is covered. Being thus covered by material energy, one cannot possibly overcome its influence. As previously stated, both the material and spiritual natures, being emanations from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are eternal. The living entities belong to the eternal, superior nature of the Lord, but due to contamination by the inferior nature, matter, their illusion is also eternal. The conditioned soul is therefore called Nityabadha, or eternally conditioned. No one can trace out the history of his becoming conditioned at a certain date in material history. Consequently, his release from the clutches of material nature is very difficult, even though that material nature is an inferior energy. Because material energy is ultimately conducted by the Supreme Will, which the living entity cannot overcome. Inferior material nature is defined herein as divine nature due to its divine connection and movement by the divine will. Being conducted by divine will, material nature, although inferior, acts so wonderfully in the construction and destruction of the cosmic manifestation. The Vedas confirm this as follows: Mayam tu prakritim vidyan, mayinam tu maheshvaram. Quote, although Maya, illusion, is false or temporary, the background of Maya is the supreme magician, the personality of Godhead, who is Maheshvara, the supreme controller. End quote. Another meaning of guna is rope. It is to be understood that the conditioned soul is tightly tied by the ropes of illusion. A man is bound by the hands and feet. A man bound by the hands and feet cannot free himself. He must be helped by a person who is unbound. Because the bound cannot help the bound, the rescuer must be liberated. Therefore, only Lord Krishna, or his bona fide representative, the spiritual master, can release the conditioned soul. Without such superior help, one cannot be freed from the bondage of material nature. Devotional service, or Krishna consciousness, can help one gain such release. Krishna, being the Lord of illusory energy, can order this insurmountable energy to release the conditioned soul. He orders this release out of his causeless mercy on the surrendered soul and out of his paternal affection for the living entity who was originally a beloved son of the Lord. Therefore, surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord is the only means to get free from the clutches of the stringent material nature. The words mam eva are also significant. Mam means unto Krishna, Vishnu only, and not Brahma or Shiva. Although Brahma and Shiva are greatly elevated and are almost on the level of Vishnu, it is not possible for such incarnations of Rajagun, passion, and Tamagun, ignorance, to release the conditioned soul from the clutches of Maya. In other words, both Brahma and Shiva are also under the influence of Maya. Only Vishnu is the master of Maya. Therefore, he can alone give release to the conditioned soul. The Vedas confirm this in the phrase Tvam eva viditva, or, quote, freedom is possible only by understanding Krishna, end quote. Even Lord Shiva affirms that liberation can be achieved only by the mercy of Vishnu. Lord Shiva says, Mukti pradata sarvesham Vishnur eva na samshayaha. Quote, there is no doubt that Vishnu is the deliverer of liberation for everyone.
So, everyone has probably heard the term Mukunda. Mukunda is the name for Krishna. So he gives liberation. So this is the idea that we as conditioned living entities, we don't have the power to overcome Maya on our own strength, right? So on my own strength, I'm not able to overcome the material energy. What is the material energy, or what are the symptoms? What are some symptoms of being conditioned? You can kind of say some. Anxiety, death, tendency to cheat others, anger, birth. Right, great. So all these are actually symptoms of being conditioned. So an intelligent person in the human form of life is meant to recognize they are being debilitated by all these, problems. This is actually impeding my freedom. Just like, say you have a friend and they say, you can use my car as long as you clean the inside and fill up the gas tank, right? That's a condition. So you're not free to use that car unless you do those things. So in this material world, you're not free to try to enjoy matter unless you get birth, death, anxiety, you have a tendency to cheat others, you're angry, like that. You have to get all those. Prabhupada used the word incumbent. Incumbent. Incumbent means it goes with it. You don't have a choice. If you want material life, you want to try to enjoy Krishna's property without him, Prabhupada used to say, they want the kingdom of God without God. he used to say that specifically at some big events in India, they had these things called a pandal. Specifically in Bombay, in the 1970s, they were doing big pandal programs, and they made these big advertisements all over the city. American and European sadhus. And people said, I knew Haridwar sadhus. Right? There's different holy places where the sadhus are. There's different places, right? So they know about those sadhus. I never heard American and European sadhus. So thousands of people went there. Giriraj Maharaj was saying more than 20,000 people were going every day to these big, huge tent festivals. And on the stage, they had Srila Prabhupada's personal Radha Krishna deities. They got blessed. You know, they really did. To have darshan of his deities. So, they heard his voice and he spoke to them and he would tell them, they want the kingdom of God without God. And why is that important? They say Ram Raj. That's famous. Ram Raj. You know, right, Prabhu? They say, the politicians are saying, let us have Ram Raj. What is that Ram Raj? That means like the kingdom is being run like Ramachandra ran the kingdom. In those times, everybody was happy. Everybody was taken care of. There was no worries in the society because there was no sin. Equal justice to all people. Right. But they want Ram Raj without Ram. Right? They actually, you know, they want the kingdom of God without God, Prabhupada would say. And he would speak very strongly to the Indians. One time Maharaj was telling me that at that time, Prabhupada spoke in Bombay and all different places all over India. And he really gave him the sauce. Bang! Boom! And it was so heavy duty preaching. Right? Then their kids, they got a little bit of that. They said, oh, okay. But they weren't ready. But their kids are becoming devotees right now. All over the place. Prabhupada gave a shockwave. Boom! And now it's proliferating all over India. Some of the most intelligent boys and girls all over the Indian subcontinent are becoming Hare Krishna devotees, chanting Japamala 16 rounds a day. Surrender to the instructions of the previous acharyas. No meat, no fish, no eggs, no onions, no garlic. Offer all the food to Krishna. No illicit sex, no gambling, you know, no intoxication, up to coffee, tea, and cigarettes. They're doing it from the top universities. Why? Because Prabhupada is giving them God. I will not promise you Ram Raj without Ram. I will not promise you the kingdom of God without God. I'll give you Krishna. I'll give you Krishna. So then what do we say? When you get Krishna, what is it? Then you know everything. When you get Krishna, then you're liberated. Even in this world, you're called Jivan Mukta. That's stated. Jivan Mukta means you're liberated even in this world. So that's like a coconut. I think I described this once recently. There's a coconut. Coconut has different layers. In America, we're not really that familiar. But I just recently saw a video. There's one devotee and he was preparing shredded coconut. So the coconut is brown. It's hard. There's a huge green thing that's on the outside. That green thing you take off. Then in the inside there's a brown, very hard brown ball. That's what we see, like, has like 3 little spots on it, you know, like that. You take that and they crack it. And inside is the flesh, or the white. So there's this machine, it's like a crank, and on the end of it, there's like a drill. And you take the half of the coconut, and with one hand you spin. In this hand, you put it on the tip, and it shreds all the coconut out of the hard shell. But if you wait, say you don't You don't harvest it when it's ripe and moist. You let it dry. What happens? Then you shake it and it makes a sound. You ever seen that? You shake the coconut and it's making a sound. Inside it's rattling because that flesh is actually dried and it's actually separated from the brown. So it'll make a shake, it'll make a sound. That's like a pure devotee. He's become godly. He's not become God. Not a mystic yoga factory pumping out gods, right? Not do we become God by yoga. Some say in India, some so-called spiritual masters say that I became God by worshiping Goddess Kali. But what does Lord Shiva say? Goddess Kali or Durga is actually his wife, Parvati. And Lord Shiva says, you can actually, to get mukti, to be liberated, you have to worship Vishnu only. Right? So how by worshiping Goddess Kali, her husband is not even able to give mukti, then you can become God. It's kind of, it's not logical. So, by worshiping Krishna, then you can actually become free from the modes of Maya.
There is one word like Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness. So I am stuck in that. What does that refers? Like what is that consciousness for every human being that Krishna wants to give? Now, what is that Krishna consciousness means?
Actually, there's a verse by Rupa Goswami where he describes that. And there's a lecture by Srila Prabhupada where he discusses this, how Krishna consciousness means the desire to serve Krishna. One is absorbed in Krishna's name, his fame, his form, his service. One has developed the attitude of the spiritual world. So Krishna consciousness means, versus the people in Maya, I'm conscious of I'm experiencing anxiety. What am I anxious about? I'm anxious that I won't get food, I won't get sex, I won't get house, I won't get job, isn't it? That means body conscious. Body wants sex, body wants food, body wants, all these things. Body conscious means Maya. Krishna conscious means I'm focused on Krishna's pleasure. What Krishna wants. That means Krishna conscious. Right? So it's an intense desire to want to please Krishna. That is Krishna consciousness. And that is actually the birthright. That is actually the original consciousness of every person. Because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nobody, he's Adi Deva. He's the first. Adi Purusham. He's the first person, original Supreme Person. Everybody that is their original consciousness, is to try to please him. Because that's who we are. Just like a fish. Fish is born for water. You take him out of water, he's going to be suffering. So the idea is, we ourselves are originally Krishna conscious living entities. We are born, we exist to give Krishna pleasure. So Krishna consciousness is that original consciousness of the soul. Right? And it starts simple. Maharaj described that knowing that Krishna is the owner of everything. That's very simple. That's Ishopanishad. You want to understand the beginning of Krishna consciousness? Ishopanishad is very foundational. He says, Ishavasa Saramidam. He's the person who owns everything. Instead of thinking of my pleasure, I will think of him. Instead of thinking of falsely claiming that I own, this is my family, this is my country, this is my money, this is this. No, this is Krishna's money. This is Krishna's tree. This is Krishna's cloth. Krishna's temple. Everything Krishna's, that's Krishna consciousness. Because that's a fact. Then you say, if everything is Krishna's and I am Krishna's, I am meant to put everything with Krishna. Make everything for his seva. Then that's the practical exhibition of your Krishna consciousness. That's called Vigyan. You got the jnana. You know, he's God, he owns everything. Now we use everything in his service. My mind, my tongue, my lips, my hair, my mouth, my feet, my words, my money, my family, right? My car, like that. That's Krishna consciousness. Very good. Now, save the world. Bhagavad Gita ki jai.